And some crazy things happened last night at the Oscars, and we got to talk about it. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, man. And I feel bad for Chris Rock, and I feel bad for Will Smith too. But both Andrew and I were talking about, like, should we talk about this? Does it relate to creators? And I think it does. I think it actually relates to creators and also to our culture. Every single post on Facebook this morning, I opened it up. Everyone was talking about their opinions on what happened. So I think it is very interesting. And by the way, everyone should know we are recording this the day after it happens, and this episode's coming out next Monday, so in a week from now. Right now we're on a week delay with these episodes. Soon we'll be a bit faster, but with all our post-production and all that kind of stuff, right now we're giving ourselves a week. So just in case anything else happens between now and a week from now, just want to throw that out there. So Andrew, let's get your reaction first. I'm very curious to know your thoughts. Why'd you want to talk about this?
Like everybody else, my feeds were inundated with what happened. I'm a Will Smith fan. I'm a Chris Rock fan, and I watched the clip a couple times, and it's this definitely ties into the content creation world. This definitely ties into the marketing world. Will Smith has a YouTube channel, and I know we're going to be diving deeper into some YouTube content later on in this episode. Matthew McConaughey has a YouTube. So many celebrities and athletes and actors have YouTube channels these days. And Will Smith is I would definitely consider Will Smith a content creator. He's probably, out of all the actors out there, he's probably a lot more active on the different social media platforms than the vast majority of everybody else out there. It's funny. I remember reading an article a couple of years ago. The title was, "Why is Will Smith becoming an influencer?" Because he's clearly got the clouts and the attention in the marketplace already without becoming an influencer. But he clearly is a fan of creating engaging content. And then last night, Chris Rock made at the Oscars. I don't watch the Oscars, but I saw this clip a couple times. Chris Rock snapped a joke against that was, I guess you could say, was aimed at Jada, Will's wife. And I noticed Will actually chuckled, like he actually laughed. She did not look impressed or happy at all. And then the camera cut back to Chris Rock. And then the next thing you know, you see Will Smith walking up on stage, and Chris Rock was looking pretty excited. He was looking pretty thrilled to be joined up on stage there by the man, the myth, the legend, Will Smith. And then out of nowhere, Will just smacks him right across the face, and everybody's talking about it. And my initial reaction was, well, I was a little disappointed, because in my experience, whether it's business, whether it's your personal life, anytime emotions run high, people typically do not make the best decisions when they're emotional, when they're in an emotional state. Think of yourself. Like when you look at the history of your life, and I certainly can tie myself into this, whenever I would found myself in a more emotional state, I don't typically make the best decisions in those times. So, I mean, violence, I'm not a violent kind of person. I think that was kind of a childish reaction. And ultimately, when you consider the circumstances, the environment, and knowing the sense of humor Chris Rock has, and what he is paid there to do, what all of those Oscar hosts and award ceremonies hosts are paid to do is to entertain. And sometimes they take some shots at people in the audience, and that's what we as consumers and viewers are certainly expecting. So yeah, I thought the reaction was a little childish. I commend him for standing up and defending his woman, and I'm all about that. But in today's world, like what you said at the beginning of this year, Matt, I do feel bad. I actually legitimately feel bad for both of them, because they're both going to receive I would assume, a lot of unwanted attention over the next short term. And it'll be interesting to see if Chris Rock wants to press charges or take legal action and whatnot. There's all kinds of drama.
Yeah, my thought on this was like, because the joke was geared towards, I guess, I mean, usually in comedy, you know, it's kind of, I think, frowned upon or forbidden to like make fun of people's medical conditions, right? So yeah, that's the fair. Joke was geared towards G.I. Jane 2. So I think, some people don't know what G.I. Jane was, but it was Demi Moore Demi Moore, right? She played, a military person, a female, and that shaved her head. I think it's actually a true story. G.I. Jane. So
that's cool.
he was cracking a joke at Jada, kind of being in G.I. Jane too. And I wondered if he even knows that she had alopecia or she shaved her head, because I think she looks good even with a shaved head, and she has had short hair before. Right?
Oh, long time, dude. She played an amazing character on Gotham, on the TV show Gotham, where she had super short hair.
Yeah,
and she looks amazing.
She looks good.
Super short cut.
Even if whatever it was, like she looks good. But obviously, I could completely imagine like what it feels like, especially for a woman. I mean, men go bald at certain ages all the time. I guess I don't know, but for women, I could see that being, a very traumatic experience to go through alopecia, right? So for her, it's an emotional journey. I look into it a little bit, and she recently just came out talking about how she's struggling with this. So she must be emotional about that. But there's a chance that he didn't even know. He might have just thought that she just shaved her head. And that, to me, makes the whole thing more funny from his perspective, because he's probably going, what the hell is going on? Right?
He didn't see it coming. Yeah.
Yeah, but he must have been so much like if he did not know, like if he was making fun of her alopecia, I think that's not cool on Chris Rock's part. Okay, but if he didn't know, it just, to me, like if you watch that clip again and you see his reaction, and just imagining him not even realizing what was so offensive, for Will to react that way. But I also think if Will would have just gone up to him and just whispered in his ear and said apologize or something like that, that would have been cool.
Oh, that would have been so slick. I agree. I think that would have been pretty cool.
That would have been the gentleman approach. But then on the flip side, what if it was like Kevin Hart hosting, and Kevin Hart has a lot more clout? Would he have done that? Or if it was The Rock hosting, and The Rock is a huge guy, and would he go and slap The Rock? So that's where I feel bad for Chris Rock, because he's a nice guy. He seems humble. He's, not a big guy. He's small, and he's not like huge in terms of clout and stuff. I mean, he's, an amazing comedian. I've loved him for years. But that's why I feel really bad for him, because he got slapped by another man at the Oscars, and it's like all over the place. It's not a good look for him too, right? So
yeah, because he's been disrespected publicly, and you could see his face right after it happened. He was stunned. He was for a comedian to not find the words. You could tell that he was in shock in that moment, and you can't help but feel bad for him in that moment. I do feel bad for everyone involved, including Jada. I mean, it's a dramatic thing that everyone's talking about now, and it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out now.
But what's more funny is I didn't know the Oscars were happening. And the way I found out is someone posted a story last night of it. And I was like, what happened? And I right away went to YouTube. I was like, what's going on? And I just started watching all these videos to figure out what was going on. And then I saw also Will Smith. He ended up winning his first Oscar. And then he apologized to the Academy, but he did not apologize to Chris. And I think that he should.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was apologizing and whatever. And then saying, I hope they invite me back, or, but yeah, I think it's kind of rude what he did, and I am a big believer, a big supporter of comedy and allowing comedy to be offensive. I think that is super important for our culture and our society, that comedians can still crack jokes and make fun of people, right? And so that's a big thing. Like I took stand-up comedy classes. I've studied some comedy. I'm definitely no comic, but I think it's just important that comedians are allowed to make jokes and not get slapped across the face, whether, metaphorically or physically. So that's the other side of this that I don't like. Yeah. And Will Smith is also a comedian, and he should respect that side. But I also think that you should not be making fun of people's medical conditions. So I'm very curious if Chris Rock actually knew she had alopecia or just thought that she had a shaved head. And on the flip side, he might not even be writing his own joke. He probably had a team of people writing the joke. So who knows if that person who wrote the joke knew,
Those are all really good points. And it's almost like we don't have enough context right now to really deem who's in the right and who's in the wrong. But you raise a really good point there, because we're talking about something this is a much larger conversation about censorship and how certain people are allowed to say certain things and get away with certain things. And like you raised a really good point there. Like, what if that was The Rock up there making that joke? Would Will have reacted the same way? Will and The Rock have the exact same agent. The Rock has a lot more clout and dominance in the marketplace than Chris
But he's
Rock.
just a big
Chris Rock
guy.
Yeah,
Like, can you imagine
physically imposing?
What if he slapped The Rock and The Rock took him down? That would have been amazing. Imagine. So,
yeah.
But here's the other thing about this. Go. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, the only thing I was going to, don't forget where you were going to say there, but the only thing I was going to say is, it's okay. Let's tie it back to the fact that both you and I had no idea the Oscars were happening. The Oscars over how many years has been basically holding on by their fingernails, trying to be relevant, trying to retain the attention. Hollywood in general has been losing a lot of attention to platforms like YouTube, right? And I didn't know the Oscars were happening. You didn't know the Oscars were happening. And what's the first thing I did this morning when I saw some of these things popping up in my feeds? I went to YouTube. To consume. That's the first thing I did on YouTube.
That's the first thing I did. That's hilarious. But here's the other part of this. This is why I think this is where it really ties into the creator space. And I've wanted to talk more about this. I brought this up to you before, is that it's about dealing with criticism and how that affects the emotional well-being of creators. And the reason I bring this up is because a few months ago, Will Smith was also in the media a lot because of the dynamic of his relationship with Jada, right? And people were calling him, I think the word is like I just learned this word. It's like a cockled, where like you don't mind your wife sleeping with other people.
So I didn't know any of this. Okay.
Yeah. So people were like making fun of him and like, I would say almost like demoralizing him, or like kind of like, I don't know what the right word is, like making him like he's not the alpha in the relationship and stuff, So like a lot of men were making fun of him, but I actually admire that they can have that relationship. They've been together for so long. Clearly they love each other. I think that actually takes more of an alpha man to be able to, do that. But that's just my personal opinion. But I think that all of that, because that was a lot of drama. I didn't pay too much attention when that was going on, but I thought they were doing a lot of interviews, and it seemed weird that, they were like really putting their relationship up in, into the media. And it was kind of like a weird dynamic. It seemed like it didn't make them look good. Right. And so maybe there was some of that and kind of that media pushback that Will Smith was getting, a few months back. I don't know how long, that was 6 months ago. So I feel like that played into it. I feel like his initial reaction was laughing, looks over at Jada. She looks hurt. Maybe she started crying. And that right away, he was like, ain't no one going to talk to my woman like that, And he just,
and then the alpha male in him kind of woke up and went, wait a second, I need to react. I need to do something. I'm sure when he was marching up to Chris Rock, it would be interesting to be inside of his head in that moment and be like, was he really planning on slapping him, or is that something like just hit him in the moment? Like I said, people don't tend to make great decisions when they're emotional, and I agree with you, man. Comedians should have that. We're walking a really dangerous line if we need to, censor all of these comedians for fear of hurting someone's feelings. That's what I'm worried about, is that people are going to take this. They're not going to realize that like it's not okay to make fun of someone's medical condition. That I agree with, but I don't think that's where the media is going to take this. The media is going to take this with comedians shouldn't be making fun of people or hurting people's feelings, which is where I think this is going to be bad for our culture, or whatever you want to call that. Right? That's where I'm not. I hope Will Smith will somehow rectify it. Hopefully. He needs to apologize. Yeah. He needs to they both need to apologize.
Yes. Well, it'd be interesting. I feel like Chris Rock might not have known, or the person who wrote the joke might not have known she had alopecia.
So in that situation, maybe it's not an apology. Maybe it's just like, hey, listen, I want to clean the slate here. We ultimately just want to see, the whole world just wants to see the two of them hug it out, basically, and just patch this up. Because like Chris Rock can say, listen, I had no idea your wife has been struggling with this medical condition, and then I would love to see Will say, hey, listen, and I didn't react in a very mature manner. Like as soon as all of the tensions kind of settle, and I'd like to think everything's kind of settled by now, I feel like that would be the outcome, the result that the whole world would like to see in this moment, right? Because both of them are very visible celebrities there, and they both have their audiences, and they certainly, if they want to, I haven't checked either of their social media accounts right now, but I'm sure they've got handlers and people saying, hey, listen, let's just like zip it up right now, and then you'll have your chance to say something tomorrow or something. I don't know.
I did check. Chris Rock follows Will Smith. I checked last night, and Will Smith does not follow Chris Rock. So
Interesting.
I don't know if he just unfollowed him, but so that was as of last night. So we'll see if Chris Rock unfollows Will. Then we'll know. There ain't no good Will left.